The 7 Laws of Manipulation. Dark psychology. You must know to defend yourself. Someone convinced you to do something you didn't want to do, and you felt good about it. They walked away with exactly what they needed, and you didn't realize you'd been played until hours later. Maybe days. That wasn't charm. That wasn't persuasion. That was manipulation. And it followed rules you've never been taught. There are 7 laws that govern how manipulation works. Master manipulators know them all. They use them in boardrooms, in relationships, in everyday conversations. And if you don't know these laws, you're operating blind. You'll hand over your time, your money, your trust, and you won't even know why. This is protective knowledge, the kind that changes how you see every interaction. Because once you understand the mechanics of psychological manipulation, you can't be controlled the same way again. Let's start with the first law, the Law of Reciprocity. Robert Cialdini documented this in his research on influence and persuasion. It's simple. When someone gives you something, you feel obligated to give something back, even if you didn't ask for it, even if you don't want it. The manipulator knows this, so they give first, a small favor, a compliment, a piece of advice, and suddenly you owe them. They've created a psychological debt, and they will collect. Here's how it plays out. A coworker stays late to help you finish a project. You didn't ask them to, but they did. 2 weeks later, they need you to cover for a mistake they made, and you do it because you owe them. That's the law of reciprocity in action. The gift wasn't free, it was an investment. The second law is the law of scarcity. People want what they can't have. Manipulators create artificial scarcity to make you act fast. Limited time offers, exclusive opportunities. This deal expires tonight. What they're really doing is removing your ability to think clearly. Scarcity triggers fear of missing out. It hijacks your cognitive bias toward loss aversion. You stop evaluating whether you actually need something. You just know you might lose the chance to have it. Watch how this works in relationships. Someone pulls back emotionally. They're suddenly less available, less responsive. You didn't care much before, but now that they're scarce, you want their attention more. That's not love. That's emotional manipulation using the psychology of scarcity. The third law is the law of authority. People obey authority figures, even when it doesn't make sense. Stanley Milgram proved this in his infamous experiments. Participants delivered what they believed were dangerous electric shocks to strangers, simply because a person in a lab coat told them to. The manipulator doesn't need real authority. They just need the appearance of it, a title, a confident tone, the right credentials on a website, and you'll follow their lead without questioning. This is why scammers use doctor titles, why fake gurus manufacture credibility, why abusive bosses rely on their position instead of earning respect. The authority is a costume, but it works. The fourth law is the law of consistency. Once you commit to something small, you'll keep moving in that direction to avoid looking inconsistent. This is how cults recruit members. This is how bad relationships trap good people. The manipulator gets you to say yes to something tiny, a small agreement, a minor concession, and then they build on it. Each step feels reasonable because you've already taken the previous one. You don't want to contradict yourself, so you keep going, even when the path leads somewhere you never intended. Example. Someone asks if you believe people should help each other. You say yes. Then they ask if you'd be willing to share an article supporting a cause. You say yes. Then they ask for a small donation, and suddenly you're in. Not because you care deeply about the cause, but because saying no now would contradict the person you've already presented yourself as. The fifth law is the law of social proof. Humans are pack animals. We look to others to decide what's normal, what's safe, what's right. Manipulators weaponize this. They show you that everyone else is doing it, buying it, believing it. They manufacture consensus, fake reviews, paid testimonials, crowds of supporters who may not even exist. And your brain interprets the crowd as validation. If everyone else trusts this, it must be trustworthy. This is the foundation of propaganda, of viral misinformation, of mass market psychology. You're not evaluating the idea on its merits. You're counting heads, and the manipulator is inflating the numbers. The sixth law is the law of liking. You're more easily influenced by people you like. Manipulators know this, so they make you like them first. They mirror your body language. They find common ground. They compliment you in ways that feel genuine. This isn't friendship. It's a technique. They're using the psychology of rapport to lower your defenses. Once you like them, you stop questioning their motives. You give them the benefit of the doubt. You trust them with information and access you'd never give a stranger. Con artists are masters of this law. They don't look dangerous. They look charming, relatable, like someone you'd want to grab coffee with. And by the time you realize you've been deceived, they're gone. The seventh law is the law of contrast. This is about framing. The manipulator presents options in a specific order to make one choice look better than it is. First, they show you something extreme, expensive, unreasonable. Then they show you the option they actually want you to pick. And compared to the first option, it looks reasonable, even though it's still not in your best interest. This is anchoring. The first number you hear becomes the reference point. Everything else is judged relative to that anchor. Salespeople use this constantly. The luxury model is $30,000, but this mid-tier model is only $18,000. $18,000 suddenly feels like a deal. Even though you walked in planning to spend $12,000, you've been contrasted into spending more. But here's what manipulators don't want you to know. These laws only work when you're unaware of them. The moment you recognize the pattern, the spell breaks. Manipulation relies on invisibility. It hides in plain sight, disguised as normal human interaction. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. So how do you defend yourself? First, slow down. Manipulators need you to act fast. They need you emotional, reactive, off balance. When someone pressures you to decide immediately, that's a red flag. Take time. Walk away from the conversation. Sleep on it. Manipulative tactics lose their power when you give yourself space to think clearly. Second, question the frame. Ask yourself why this choice is being presented this way. Who benefits if I say yes? What am I being compared to? Is this authority real or performed? Are these testimonials genuine? Break down the structure of the pitch. Manipulators rely on you accepting the frame without examining it. Third, trust your discomfort. If something feels off, it probably is. Manipulation often triggers a subtle sense of unease. Your intuition recognizes the incongruence before your conscious mind does. Don't ignore that feeling. Don't rationalize it away. Investigate it. That discomfort is your early warning system. Fourth, set boundaries and hold them. Manipulators test boundaries. They push, they guilt, they negotiate. If you've said no, don't let them reframe it into a maybe. Don't justify. Don't over-explain. No is a complete sentence. The more you defend your boundary, the more they'll find gaps in your defense. Fifth, watch for patterns over time. One instance of reciprocity isn't manipulation, it's human interaction. But if someone consistently gives unsolicited favors and then consistently asks for something in return, that's a pattern. If every conversation ends with you feeling obligated, drained, or confused, that's a pattern. Manipulation reveals itself through repetition. The bigger truth is this: these 7 laws are neutral. They're tools. Influence itself isn't evil. Persuasion isn't inherently wrong. But the intent behind them matters. Ethical persuasion respects your autonomy. It gives you information and lets you choose. Manipulation removes your ability to choose freely. It engineers your decision while making you believe it was yours. Understanding dark psychology doesn't make you cynical. It makes you sovereign. You stop being a passive participant in interactions designed to extract from you. You start recognizing the difference between someone who respects you and someone who's managing you. And that awareness is freedom. These laws exist whether you know them or not. Manipulators are already using them. The only question is whether you'll learn to see them in action. Because the moment you do, you reclaim your power. You stop being the target. You become the person who can't be played. Think back to that moment at the beginning. Someone convinced you to do something you didn't want to do. Now you can see which law they used. Was it reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency? You didn't know the game was being played, but now you do. And the next time someone tries to use these laws against you, you'll recognize it. You'll see the technique behind the words, and you'll choose differently. The question isn't whether you'll encounter manipulation. You will. The question is whether you'll see it coming. Use this knowledge to protect yourself, never to harm, because the ultimate defense against dark psychology is becoming someone who refuses to play by its rules. Dark psychology. Understand people. Protect yourself.